You are Locked On Bulls Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Chicago on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Bulls Postcast here at the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. The Bulls lose 125-123 against the Charlotte Hornets. Terrible defense in this game. Team meeting didn't fix anything for the Chicago Bulls and their defensive efforts. Wasn't a good first half. They gave up 73 points in the first half, I think it was. So terrible start to this game. They play no defense. Third quarter's better. Fourth quarter, a 21-2 run to start the fourth quarter for the Hornets. Put the Bulls in a hole they couldn't dig themselves out of. Some bad shots there at the very end of the game. We'll go through all that here first. Nikola Vucevic was dominant. His best game of the season by far. He was absolutely incredible in this game. Didn't love the tech that he got, though, that we'll talk about as well. And then Patrick Williams, missing in action for this one. Interesting that he kind of was pretty much removed from the rotation at this point in the game. He only played 17 minutes in this game, so we'll talk about him a little bit. But look, that was terrible defense in this game for the Bulls. This is not, look, I have a theory on team meetings, okay? 99% of the time, if you have a team meeting, your season's over. You're done. If a player, a leader like Vuce is having to tell the coaches, I need to talk to everyone first after a game, which you lose to the Atlanta Hawks, they're G-Leaguers basically, your season's over. You have no hope, you have no chance, no prayer. It doesn't matter if it's baseball, football, basketball, whatever. When those team meetings happen, things are just over. It's because when you're finally getting to the point, when it's been like this all season, when you're not playing good defense, when you don't show up against bad teams, when you're playing a lot of backups and you don't show up and you have these terrible performances. Look, you just lost to a team that had 9 wins on the season. So, maybe they need another team meeting. But when team meetings happen, I just believe 99% of the time, your season's over. You got no shot to build on anything because if your players are having to call each other out, it means A, your coaches aren't doing anything, B, your problems are so obvious to some guys on the team that it means they're also not obvious most likely to other guys. So there's usually bigger problems at hand. But this is a brutal performance for the defense in the first half. Offensively, the Bulls were fine tonight. They scored, yes, they gave up 73 points in the first half. Well, they scored 71, so the offense was fine, was cooking in basically the entire first half. Vuce was really good. You went a long while without Kobe White taking his first shot, but he was making some good shots tonight. Zach LaVine was having a couple positive moments, and Vuce scored 40. It was a dominant performance for Nikola Vucevic, but 73 points to the Charlotte Hornets. Look at this stat line for some of these guys out there for the Hornets. Lamelo Ball goes 7 of 19, 1 for 9 from the three-point line. He's their best player, and he's clearly has the ball in their hands most of the game, and he can't hit anything in the first half, the second half. He ends up with 26 points, but LaMelo is not having some incredible night there. They're just blowing by the Bulls. They outscored the Bulls in the paint unless the Bulls finally caught up there at the end, but it was 64-58 as the final stretch there was happening. So the Bulls are just they're not stopping anyone in the paint. They go super small at the end, which is an interesting lineup. If there was positive things to talk about, we would talk about it more if they would have won this game. But I like the idea of Vuce out there with all these guards because, if you're not going to play in the paint, you might as well put out a bunch of guys out there that can shoot the basketball. But they just played terrible defense in the start of the first half. Now, the offense does completely vanish, and so does the defense at the start of the fourth quarter. Look, there are runs that happen in these games that are surprising. But to see a fourth quarter start 21-2 is wild. That is a embarrassing, just terrible effort all around for you, offensively, defensively. You just unravel. They're down 14 points with 5 minutes and 45 seconds left to go. The fact that they even got back into this thing, it just shows to what Adam Amin and Stacey King were talking about there at the end of the broadcast. The Charlotte Hornets are one of the worst clutch teams, if not the worst clutch team, by all the metrics in the NBA this season. So I'm not going to sit here on a night when you lose to the Hornets, who just got their 10th win of the season, and act like that's some incredible comeback for the Bulls and way to fight back in. No. 21-2 to start a quarter is just a terrible, terrible performance. And you combine that with giving up 73 points in the first half. Yes, you had a good third quarter where the Bulls held the Hornets to under 30 points in that quarter. So you have a terrible first half. Looks like you rebound, but then you just go, the whole team just goes on a milk carton in the fourth, and you're just a disaster waiting to happen as we're all watching this unfold. It's a bad night. That's a bad night for the Bulls. It's a bad night for Billy Donovan, as the chat says here. It's a bad night for everyone. For all of us spending our Friday night watching the Bulls, that's what tonight felt like. And look, again, you have a team meeting. You think things would be better, but then to follow up a team meeting with giving up 73 points in the first half, it's just terrible. Like there's no other way to put it. It is a terrible, terrible performance by the Chicago Bulls in this game, and it really feels like we are now on the cusp of things unraveling. Maybe they already have because of the team meeting, but with the last couple losses they've had, it just feels like things are really, really close to snowballing to a point of no return for this team where, no matter the offer, you might have to just unload guys because it might go that poorly. And they play the Trailblazers on Sunday night, and we'll be doing these shows late night. We'll be doing these shows at 1 o'clock in the morning or 12:30 at night. So if you're up late, you're a night owl. We'll be here during this West Coast trip when they play the Clippers, the Blazers, and the Warriors in the next 3 games. So we'll be doing these shows here. So we'll be here for you if you're not sleeping. But yeah, just a bad one for the Bulls. There's really no redeeming quality, I would say, besides that third quarter Nikola Vucevic's performance. It was cool, I guess, to finally see the ball matchup happen. We've never seen it as Bulls fans, Lamelo versus Lonzo. So at least we got that in this game. It was a fun storyline. I could have done a little less with the LiAngelo references and showing him on TV. I know he's there. I know he just dropped a new song. I know everyone loved it. But we got enough of it during the game. Not to be a hater, but at some point, just show me the bad defense. Or maybe it's a refresher for some people not have to watch the bad defense constantly. But bad night all around for the Bulls, and definitely a bad night for Billy Donovan. I mean, look, you would think that something would change with this team after a team meeting, not just from the players, but from the coaches. Maybe it's a starting lineup change. Maybe you're going to tweak something. They don't do that. The only thing they did tweak was and we'll get to this in the third segment, Patrick Williams, they stopped playing him in this game. They didn't play Josh Giddey there the whole fourth quarter. I'm not actually sure, but it felt like he was not out there at all. So just a very, very bad night for the Bulls as they lose to the Charlotte Hornets 125-123. And again, just feels like we are on the cusp of watching this season unravel. You play a Trailblazers team next who has 13 wins on the season, who's very young. And if you have another performance like this on Sunday against the Trailblazers, we will know officially that things are just out of control. And look, they let guys dominate you that shouldn't. This Mark Williams kid, that block he had was awesome against Lonzo. But he was doing really whatever he wanted to in this game defensively. Really just the Hornets just looked like it's amazing that team with only 9 wins going into this game just looked like the fundamentally better basketball team. I know it's the NBA and any given night anything can happen, and it's not quite any given Sunday, as cheesy as that is, like it is in the NFL. But teams will get theirs. But your last 2 games against the Hornets, you had to win in overtime, and then you had a chance to win it there at the very end of the game. And we'll talk about that now here before we go to break and talk about Vooch. That ending sequence is brutal. Now, at least they get the ball in bounds this game. I literally, as soon as Lonzo's got the ball, I started counting as soon as he got it because I was like, this can't happen again. It's not Josh Giddey this time, but it can't happen again, right? So I'm counting. He gets the ball in. Vooch is open. Now, he's the right guy to take the shot. Now, Nikola Vucevic, as great as he was in this game, most of his points, really almost all of them, were in the paint. So he really was dominating there. He misses the 3. That's fine. You get the offensive rebound. This is where I get why people don't like Zach LaVine. That shot sucks. There's no other way to put it. That is a terrible, terrible shot for Zach LaVine. To have centimeters of space with 6 seconds left to go in the game. Down by 2. You're not down by 3. You don't have to lob up a prayer, attack the basket. You're in the bonus. Try to draw a foul. Do something. Instead, he jacks up this terrible shot. It doesn't go in. Io throws up a prayer. And it looked like we were going to overtime or they were going to win it. But that shot from LaVine, it's not good enough for a guy who's supposed to be that caliber of a player. And I've said it a million times, it feels like now. I think he's playing his best basketball he's ever played as a member of the Bulls. I think he had a good overall game tonight. But that shot selection, it sucked. It's not going to go in without a miracle happening. We've seen Zach hit those before. But in that moment, I absolutely despise that was the decision after the Vucevic miss, just to jack up a three like that for Zach LaVine. So you can't blame it all on him because of what happened the rest of the game with the lack of defense and the start of the fourth quarter. But when it mattered most, that's when you need him and Vooch to step up and make those shots, and neither of them did in this game. So let's talk more about Vooch. He was dominant tonight. His best game of the season for sure. 40 points, double-double again. I think that's 9 of the last 11 games. He's got a double-double in, so he continues to have his all-star level season. We'll get into that next year on the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. So Vooch was incredible. Besides missing the 3 there, which you need him to hit. Like, if you're going to have the ball in that moment, if you're going to be the star player you are, if you're going to be Steph Curry's teammate here in a couple weeks, or whoever trades you, there are going to be moments where, like that, they don't want to get the ball to Zach LaVine, to the best player, to the best scorer on the team, even though Vooch was having the best night, and you're going to be expected to miss that shot. He does miss it, but like we just went over, they had another shot, so I'm not going to put this game specifically on Vooch. Again, I didn't love the tech that happened earlier from Vooch in this game. Before we talk about the stuff, the positive things from this game for Vooch, mostly just because it was 2 possessions where he was kind of checked out, where he was really frustrated to get the foul, just to basically to intentionally stop the game so he could then yell at the referees and get a tech. I get emotional things happen, heat of the moment, but that's a really tough spot to put your team in when you're really struggling as a unit. Now, in Vooch's defense here, the Bulls went on a run after that, but to really just let the game to force it to a total standstill in that moment to get the tech. And look, there are bad calls in this game. I didn't mention this in the first segment. I do think that the one they overturned surprised me. I thought they clearly, his the shoulder was touched. When I was surprised when they went to challenge it, that the Hornets won that challenge. And maybe this game goes very differently because obviously LaVine would have gone to the free throw line there, made those. Instead, Mark Williams gets the rebound, gets the jump ball, and things just don't go the Bulls' way from that moment. And they were fine. I don't think the Hornets even scored on that next possession. But so some questionable stuff, obviously, from the referees in this game. Even just Vooch in the post there was getting frustrated again. I was kind of on tech watch again for him, just because the Hornets were getting so physical there, and he was clearly getting very, very frustrated. Was curious. I thought we might see another one from him. So don't love that from Vooch tonight. But 40 points on 17 to 25 from the field. He goes, He goes 2 for 6 from the 3-point line, and he scores 40 points. He has 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. So he was incredible in this game. Now, it's not just that he was great. That is important about this for the Bulls, because of all the things like the team meeting and whatever, and the lack of defense. The one thing that is the most frustrating part of the Bulls that we've discussed many times, that we all can see, and again discussed on the broadcast today, is a lot of times when Vooch is playing this well, they completely go away from him. And at least in tonight's game, as a positive out of this thing, they didn't. Because look, the Bulls are down 7 immediately. It's 9-2, and then all of a sudden it's 13-6, and Vooch is the one who's got all 6 of those points. So you can tell immediately, he's the guy that is going to feed the offense tonight for the Bulls. And he has 10 points at the end of the first quarter. He really just keeps it going. He has 17 at the end of the half. And then he obviously just plays almost all of his points at that point, and then came in the fourth quarter. So it was nice to see Vooch dominate. It was nice to see them continue to go to Vooch in this game. And that's just, it's almost refreshing. Like, it's just the only positive thing I can really take away from this game, because to lose a team like that to the Hornets it's just annoying to watch and just doesn't make any logical sense. But at least for once, they finally, like, saw what was happening that was positive on the court in terms of the offense and said, we're just going to keep this thing going. We're going to keep giving him the basketball. He's going to keep working inside. He's getting matched up with like Seth Curry in the post. Like, you have to go to him at all times. And even, Williams, like, who's having a good day defensively, Vooch is handling him too. So it didn't really matter who was matched up with him, where it was at on the court. At least he was dominant, because Zach LaVine was fine offensively. Coby White was fine. Like, we saw both those guys have a high number of assists in this game. They both ended up with 8 assists. So you have 16 assists between those two. So the offense part of this game is not really the problem, honestly. Like, even until the very end, like, we didn't see a lot of bad shots. We didn't see a lot of like the bad transition threes early in this game. They only shot 35% from the three-point line. But overall, I thought the Bulls were pretty good on offense in this game. So this game is about defense, mental mistakes, just collapsing, and again, just allowing a quarter to start 21-2. And even like that, that is a moment where you can be like, okay, Billy Donovan, like, I don't remember like at what point in that run he called a timeout. It definitely felt like it was later than it probably should have been, because they just ran away with it so much. But when the Bulls got back into it, when they went on, this 10-0 run in less than 2 minutes, a bunch of that was from Vooch. If you look at what happened there at the end of the game when they started going back to him, it's Vooch has back-to-back buckets, and then Coby White hits a three. This is right around when, Lonzo got hurt, which was kind of a scary thing to see. But that put the Bulls back down 8. So, like, as they're coming back in this game, it's finally, okay, we're getting smoked here in the fourth quarter, so finally go back to Vooch again and let him cook, and then he just dominated the rest of the game there until the very, very end when he missed that shot. So that's the only positive from tonight's game. I guess then that Lonzo Ball is not hurt. Like, that was obviously, as a Bulls fan, like, we're all watching this moment. You see him limping. We know it's the left knee. But they show it on replay, and it's very clearly it's his thigh, and he stays in the game. So that was like a sense of relief from this game, because I don't think Lonzo Ball is going to get traded at the deadline. Could be wrong, but I'm just not sure with the return. I don't know how you evaluate a guy and trade for a guy who hasn't played basketball in 3 years. I feel like he's kind of a bull as his career goes at this point, unless he really wants to go to Charlotte and play with Lamelo at some point this year and go to like one of the worst teams in the NBA. But hey, the Bulls might be too. They just lost to him. So Vooch was awesome tonight. Defense was terrible. Now, the one part of this game that I think is maybe the next most interesting part of tonight's game, very clearly, is what happened with Patrick Williams. The fact that he just vanished in this game. And Billy Donovan, rightfully so, I think, because of what happened there in the third quarter. And even as the Bulls were trying to come back there in the fourth, Patrick Williams is not out there. It is Vooch, it is Ayo, it is Coby White, it is Lonzo, it is Zach LaVine, and Patrick Williams, and again, Josh Giddey, nowhere to be seen. So something we got to talk about next, because I do think when you talk about team meetings, effort, good shot selection, if you're like going to circle a guy who's a little wishy-washy with all that stuff, Patrick Williams is one, and actually I feel like Billy Donovan might have been sending a message to him tonight based on the decisions that they made. So let's get into that next here on the Locked On Bulls postcast on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. When I found out SKIMS was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try, and let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me, and SKIMS changed all that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. You can shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and SKIMS stores. You can let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey, select our show, Locked On NBA is the show you're selecting there, in the drop-down menu that follows. Head on over to SKIMS right now. That's skims.com/LockedOnNBA.
From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets Win or lose, the FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. I've told you guys before, what FanDuel gives you guys is to give you access to all the latest play-by-play, stats, analysis, everything, so you can make an informed bet on the same page where you place your bets. It just gives you a little leg up to make quicker and smarter bets and get that money that FanDuel is trying to give you. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's FanDuel.com. Make the playoff this season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, so in this game, everything that's going wrong for the defense, everything that's, offense is struggling at times, obviously excellent in the first half. I noticed all of a sudden, it was just in my mind, because, I'm not always, we're locked in, but you're not always thinking about when's the last time a guy was on the court. And then I saw Casey Johnson tweet that it had been 12 minutes since Patrick Williams had been in the game, and he was just totally out of the rotation in this game. So he ends up only playing 17 minutes for the Bulls tonight. Now look, I'm not the biggest fan, I would say. I'm not a believer. I don't think many of us are anymore at this point. But he's 2 for 8 from the field tonight, 1 for 5 from 3. Bad shot selection. Probably some defensive stuff, I'm guessing, that Billy Donovan will talk about in his post-game press conference, because I'm sure he'll be asked about why Patrick Williams didn't play, even though there's all this other chaotic stuff that's happening. I do feel like that's something he'll be asked about. But I find it interesting because specifically after a team meeting, even though, yes, it is, I think, as I said at the very beginning, I think it is the nail in the coffin for a season, specifically for a team like this, who's hovering below 500, where it usually means things are about to unravel very quickly. So to have this team meeting, and then the next game to have Patrick Williams be the guy who's pretty much told, you're not going to play, we're not going to use you anymore, you are going to be out of this game. It's one of those where it's just well, then why does he start? I don't why is he out there all the time normally? Apparently in his post-game press conference here, shout out to Zach here in the chat, said in post-game he wants to see more rebounding from Patrick. Yeah, because they were killing the Bulls tonight on second chance points. The Hornets were dominating the Bulls on second chance points. It is one of the biggest reasons why the Bulls lost this game, is that as Lamelo Ball is bricking threes, the Hornets are just getting they're just getting all the time easy second chance shots and putting them in, and that's why they're outscoring you in the paint. So I'm not surprised that's what he's saying about Patrick Williams himself, why he doesn't want to didn't want to play him, because if he's not going to rebound, he's not going to be good offensively, well then you might as well just put a bunch of guys out there who are going to play good defense, and at least they can score there at the end of the fourth quarter. I'm still baffled, I will be. The Josh Giddey trade is more and more confusing to me as the season goes on, just because the fact that you're closing, no offense to Lonzo Ball, I really like Lonzo Ball. If you've been listening, I think that's very clear. The fact that Lonzo Ball is closing these games instead of Josh Giddey and Patrick Williams, I think shows a larger problem with where the Bulls are at. That a guy who hasn't played basketball in 3 years is now a guy that you have to rely on. It'd be great if it was just a perk of just hey, he's feeling it, he's playing great, but they're having to put him in these situations, because even though he had a bad shot too there at the end of the fourth quarter, where he just kind of ripped a three from the top of the key, that was definitely a bad shot selection from Lonzo. Overall, you just need him out there, because you don't have Patrick Williams, who doesn't rebound, who has a couple nice offensive performances this year, right? He had his back-to-back nights where he set his career high and then tied it with made threes, which is 5 in a game just a month ago. That was in December when that happened. So a recent offensive stretch of success. But if he's not going to rebound, and that's what Billy Donovan's looking for out of him, I applaud Billy Donovan for at least something tonight, where I'd rather see him not see him out there. And I think there's a reason, again, why you're charging back into these games, because with that core group that's out there. So if you're going to get killed on the boards, you might as well just run that group a ton. And I think we are also, with that, because I think what's important with the Patrick Williams and everything with Josh Giddey that's been going on and him not closing, we are at the point now where we're seeing Lonzo Ball, he's up to 25 minutes in tonight's game. So it feels I don't know if they're going to break the wall down here and say screw it in terms of minutes restrictions, because obviously you don't want to see something like terrible happen to him as he continues to like rebuild his NBA career. But the more and more that Lonzo can play, I do think that the reality of seeing Patrick Williams and Josh Giddey have less minutes than Lonzo Ball and Ayo coming off the bench, it's probably a reality of where the Bulls are headed. And maybe that's probably part of the reason why you don't want to start or sit him anyways, and you want him in the starting lineup, because at least when he's feeling on offensively, like, that's a good thing. But when it matters most, he doesn't play. And again, in a night like tonight, it wasn't just when he mattered the most, because it was the entire third quarter. When the Bulls gave up less than 30 points, their one like great quarter of the four tonight was the third from top to bottom, offensively and defensively. It's just not really out there at all. So just an interesting kind of dynamic to watch, I think, going forward, because he is still, like, you talk about the trade deadline and guys that could or could not be traded. I don't think Patrick Williams is a guy that's going to be traded. I'm pretty confident that contract is staying in Chicago until it ends. So I like the messaging from Billy Donovan. I hate the rest of tonight's game. Bad performance, 125-123 loss. Again, a 21-2 run to start the fourth quarter, giving up 73 points to a team that was coming into this game with 9 wins. And the Bulls continue to struggle at home this season, where they have been absolutely terrible. They're 8-15 now at home on the year and are currently now on a 4-game losing streak, with the Trailblazers coming up on Sunday, and then they've got the Warriors. What is it? The game after that? So no, it's Trailblazers, Clippers, Warriors. Their next 3 games, and we will be live here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Yes, those games start at 8, 9, or 9:30 Central Time. We'll be here for you. We'll be doing these post-game show. Doesn't matter what time it is. We'll always be doing them, including when the Cubs play at like 5 o'clock in the morning in Japan or wherever it's happening, the first 2 games of the season in March. We'll be doing postcast shows for them as well, for every Bulls, Bears, Cubs, and Notre Dame game. So that will do it for us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to audio, come on over. Hit that subscribe button. You can watch the videos now, later, whatever. Also, our audio is always available immediately, so you can find the Locked On Bulls audio feed on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find that. Locked On Bulls doing great stuff every single day around the trade deadline, keeping you in the know of what's going on with your Chicago Bulls. So that will do it for us. We'll talk to you on Sunday after they play the Trailblazers. Thank you for watching as always, and peace.